the first thing he noticed was that she didn't blink often enough to be comfortable. He stood there, halfway between locking his door and pretending he had never seen her, while she examined the streetlight like it had personally offended her. Her long ears tilted slightly upward, catching the faint hum of electricity as if it were a conversation she was trying to overhear. That alone should have been enough for him to walk away. It was not. "You're staring," she said without looking at him. "I'm evaluating my life choices," he replied. "So far, they're not doing great." She turned then, finally blinking, once, slowly, as if remembering it was something people did. Up close, she looked even more human, which somehow made the long ears worse, not better. They didn't belong, and yet everything else about her insisted they did. "You always evaluate before acting?" she asked. "Only when a mysterious woman appears outside my apartment at midnight with alternative ear architecture." She considered that reasonable. "You should probably stop doing that soon." "That's comforting, truly." She stepped closer, and the air seemed to shift in a way he couldn't quite explain, like a room adjusting its shape without moving the walls. He felt it in his chest more than anywhere else, a quiet pressure, as if something invisible had just noticed him back. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "I am exactly where I need to be," she replied. "You, however, are optional." "Fantastic, I've always wanted to be optional." She smiled at that, faint but real. Her ears twitched again, sharper this time, and her gaze flicked briefly to the empty space beside him. Not past him, beside him. He resisted the urge to look. "Something there?" he asked. "Not yet," she said. "Good. I'd hate to be late to my own confusion." She stepped past him toward the door he hadn't finished locking. He noticed, with growing concern, that she didn't reach for the handle. The door simply opened, as if it had reconsidered its purpose. "That's not how doors work," he said. "They work well enough," she replied. Inside, his apartment looked the same, which was somehow more unsettling than if it had changed. She moved through it with quiet curiosity, touching nothing, yet reacting to things he couldn't see, her ears shifting, her head tilting slightly, like she was listening to echoes that hadn't happened yet. "You're going to explain any of this?" he asked. "Yes," she said. He waited. She didn't continue. "Bold strategy," he muttered, answering questions with future promises. She turned back to him. "If you come with me, I will explain. And if I do, you will keep asking questions that lead nowhere. You're very good at that." He leaned against the doorframe, considering her, considering himself, and realizing neither option sounded particularly safe. One involved staying in a life that suddenly felt staged, like a set he'd just noticed the edges of. The other involved following someone who treated reality like a flexible suggestion. "Where exactly is with you?" he asked. She stepped closer again, close enough that he could see the faint, almost imperceptible shimmer in her eyes, like light bending where it shouldn't. "A place that does not require you to understand it," she said. "That's not reassuring." "It is honest." He exhaled slowly. "And I can come back." She hesitated, not long but enough. "You can try," she said. "That's not the same thing." "No," she agreed. Silence settled between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. Just final. He glanced at his apartment, at the familiar clutter, the small, predictable life that had made sense an hour ago. Then he looked at her, at the impossible calm she carried, at the way the air seemed to lean toward her like it trusted her more than it trusted him. "Well," he said, pushing himself upright, "this is either the worst decision I've ever made or the most interesting." She tilted her head. "Those are often the same." "Great, love that for me." He stepped forward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the floor didn't move, but the idea of standing on it did. The walls didn't disappear, but they stopped agreeing with each other about where they were. The air thickened, then thinned, then felt like it had quietly stepped aside. He turned instinctively, but the door was no longer behind him. Or maybe it was just somewhere that no longer connected to him. "Okay," he said, a little too calmly. "That seems reversible." She didn't answer. "Right," he added. "That's probably a no." Ahead of him, something vast unfolded without opening, like distance itself had decided to introduce a new version of itself. Stars, if they were stars, shifted in patterns that felt deliberate, watching rather than shining. He swallowed. "So this is with you?" "Yes." He glanced back once more, though there was nothing to see. "I think I just left Earth," he said. She looked at him, her expression unreadable but not unkind. "No," she said softly. "Earth is what left you." He waited for the sensation to stop. It didn't. At first, he assumed it was motion, some kind of violent, cosmic acceleration his body simply wasn't equipped to process. But nothing rushed past him, nothing blurred. Instead, everything rearranged itself politely, as if reality were trying not to wake anyone while moving furniture. "Are we moving?" he asked. She glanced at him, her ears tilting slightly as if the question itself had a direction. "Not in a way you would approve of." "That's vague. I don't approve of vague." "You approved of following me." "Let us not bring that up every 5 minutes," he muttered. "I'm trying to maintain what little dignity I have left." She almost smiled again. He was beginning to suspect that was her version of laughing. The space around them, if it could still be called space, felt layered. Not deep, not wide, but stacked, like multiple versions of the same place, occupying the same position and arguing quietly about it. Every now and then, something shifted out of alignment, and he caught glimpses of structures that had no clear shape, only intention. "Okay," he said, rubbing his temples. "I need rules, give me rules. Every place has rules." "This one has preferences," she replied. "Of course it does. Why would anything be simple?" She walked forward, though forward seemed to change its mind with every step. He followed, mostly because standing still felt like an invitation for something else to happen. "You're adjusting," she said. "I'm surviving out of spite," he answered. Very different skill set. Her ears flicked again, sharper this time. She paused. "What is it?" he asked. "Something noticed you." He froze. "That sounds bad." "It is not good." "Great, love the clarity." He tried not to look around, which immediately made him want to look around. The layered space seemed to lean slightly, like a crowd shifting its attention. "What does noticed mean?" he asked, lowering his voice as if that would help. "It means you exist here now," she said. "Before, you were an absence. Now you are a detail." "I preferred being an absence." "That is a common reaction." A faint ripple passed through the layers, subtle but undeniable. For a moment, he felt something brush against his thoughts, not entering, not reading, just acknowledging, like someone tapping on glass to see if anything inside would react. He reacted. "Okay," he said quickly. "Whatever that was, I'd like to file a complaint." "There is no complaint system," she said. "There's always a complaint system." "Not for this. Then this place is poorly managed." She resumed walking. "You are thinking of management as control. This is closer to agreement." "Agreement between who?" She glanced back at him. "Everything." He let that sit for a moment. "I don't remember agreeing to anything." "You came." "That's not the same as agreeing." "It is here." He exhaled sharply. "I really should have read the terms and conditions." They moved through a region where the layers grew thinner, almost transparent. For a brief second, he saw something that resembled a horizon, except it curved inward like it was observing itself. "Is that a place?" he asked. "It is a possibility," she said. "Do I want to go there?" She considered. "Not yet." "Good. I'm glad we're both on the same page of avoiding things." Her ears lowered slightly, not in fear but in focus. "You joke when you are afraid." "I joke when I exist," he corrected. "The fear is just additional motivation." Another ripple, stronger this time. The sensation returned, closer now, more defined. Not a touch, not a presence, but a pressure, like being the answer to a question he didn't understand. He swallowed. "It's still noticing me, isn't it?" "Yes." "Can you tell it to stop?" "No." "Can I pretend it's not happening?" "You are doing that already." "Fair point." She stepped closer to him, her voice lowering. "Stay near me." "That's the plan." I'm not exactly eager to wander off and introduce myself to whatever this is. For the first time, she hesitated, not in speech, but in movement. Her ears shifted unevenly, as if picking up conflicting signals. "You should know something," she said. "I'm not going to like it, am I?" "No. Go ahead, I'm committed now." She met his eyes, and for once there was no deflection, no humor hiding behind her words. "The more you are seen here," she said quietly, "the harder it becomes for you to be unseen." He blinked. "Unseen as in?" "As in gone," she replied. He let out a slow breath. "So the plan is what? Stay subtle, blend in with the cosmic furniture." "There is no blending," she said. "Of course there is." The pressure around them tightened slightly, not hostile, but curious in a way that felt far more dangerous. He forced a small smile. "You know," he said, "back on Earth, the worst thing that could happen to me was forgetting my keys." She tilted her head. "And now?" He looked around at the shifting, watching layers of reality. Now I'm the key, he said. He stopped walking, though walking had long since become a generous description of what his body thought it was doing. So let me get this straight, he said, gesturing vaguely at everything and nothing. If I keep existing here, I become permanent. She didn't answer immediately. Her ears lowered slightly, not in uncertainty, but in acceptance of something that had already decided itself. Yes, she said, and permanent means I can't go back. Yes. He nodded slowly, as if agreeing with a waiter about a meal he hadn't ordered but would eat anyway. Right, that feels unfairly final. You were told you might regret it. I regret a lot of things, he said. This is just the first one that comes with cosmic consequences. The pressure around them shifted again, closer now, more focused. It no longer felt like something distant observing him. It felt like something aligning with him, fitting him into a shape he didn't remember choosing. He looked at her. You knew this would happen. I knew it was likely. That's not comforting. I am not designed for comfort, she replied. He let out a quiet laugh. Yeah, I've noticed. For a moment, he considered anger. It would have been easy, maybe even justified. But it didn't last. Something about this place, or maybe something about him now, made anger feel too simple, like trying to solve a complex equation by shouting at it. So what now? He asked. I just become part of this. She stepped closer, her presence steady against the shifting uncertainty around them. You already are. That's a terrifying sentence. It does not have to be. He looked past her, into the layered vastness that no longer felt entirely foreign. The shapes, the movements, the impossible structures, they still confused him, but they no longer rejected him. If anything, they seemed to include him, like a conversation he had accidentally joined and was now expected to contribute to. I can feel it, he admitted. Whatever this is, it's not just around me anymore. Her ears lifted slightly. No, it's like, he searched for the right words and failed, settling for honesty. Like I'm being translated. She nodded, that is close. He took a slow breath. It didn't feel like breathing used to, but it worked well enough. And Earth. She watched him carefully. You are still thinking of it as a place you can return to. It is a place. It was your place, she corrected gently. He almost argued, then stopped. The memory of it was still there, clear, familiar, but distant in a way that didn't feel physical. More like a story he had lived rather than a life he could resume. I don't even know if I'd fit there anymore, he said. You would not, she replied. Good, he said after a moment. That saves me the trouble of trying. A faint shift passed through the space, not threatening this time, but responsive. He felt it again, that sense of being noticed, but it no longer pressed against him. It moved with him. He glanced at her. Is it still watching me? She tilted her head, listening to something deeper than sound. It is not watching, she said. It is recognizing. Same difference, he muttered. It is not. He considered that, then gave a small, resigned smile. Of course it is. Nothing here is ever the same as anything else. She returned the look, quieter now. You are adapting. Don't sound so surprised. I'm very adaptable. I once lived 3 days without internet. She blinked, slow and deliberate. That is impressive. I know, I'm basically qualified for this. For the first time, her smile lingered. The layers around them shifted again, but this time it didn't feel like the world moving. It felt like him understanding where to stand. So, he said, straightening slightly, if I'm stuck here, I might as well ask, what exactly do I do now? She stepped beside him, no longer guiding, just present. You exist, she said, and in doing so, you change things. That sounds like a lot of responsibility for someone who still doesn't know what's going on. You will, she said. When? She glanced at him, a hint of that familiar almost humor returning. Eventually. He sighed. I walked right into that answer. You did. He looked out at the vast, impossible reality that no longer felt entirely hostile, just unfinished. All right, he said. I guess I live here now. Yes. He nodded once, then added, I'm going to need better explanations at some point. You will get them, and maybe a map. There are no maps. Of course there are. He took a step forward. This time the world didn't resist. It adjusted. He paused, then looked back at her. One last thing. Yes, if this is my life now, you're staying right. Her ears lifted slightly, catching something distant, then settling again. Yes, she said. He gave a small, satisfied nod. Good, because I have a lot more questions. I know. He smiled, faint but real, and turned back toward the unknown. This time, it didn't feel like falling. It felt like beginning. Time stopped behaving like something he could lose track of, which was inconvenient because losing track of time had always been one of his favorite hobbies. I miss clocks, he said, watching a ripple pass through the layered distance as if it were thinking about existing. You never liked clocks, she replied. I liked ignoring them, he corrected. There's a difference. You can't ignore something that doesn't exist. That's just nothing. You are adjusting your expectations, she said. I am lowering them, he said. Very different process. He moved forward again, and this time the space didn't just allow it, it anticipated it. Structures that once felt abstract now held a kind of quiet logic. Not the logic he grew up with, but something consistent enough to follow if he stopped insisting it behave like anything familiar. Okay, he said slowly, I think I understand something. She looked at him attentive. That's new, he added. Let's not ruin it. Her ears lifted slightly, patient. This place, he continued, gesturing vaguely, it's not trying to confuse me. It's just not designed for me. It is not designed at all, she said. Right, even worse, but I don't feel like an intruder anymore. You are not. He nodded. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I liked being an intruder. Intruders get to leave. You can still leave, she said. He glanced at her surprised. That's new. You would not return to what you were, she added. Of course not, he said. That option expired a while ago. A faint shift passed through him, not around him this time, but through him. He didn't flinch, he recognized it. Whatever had been noticing him before no longer felt separate. It felt cooperative. I think it's waiting, he said. It is, she replied. For what? For you to decide what you are. He let out a short laugh. That seems like a lot of responsibility for someone who followed a stranger into a cosmic void because she had interesting ears. They are very interesting ears, she said calmly. Not helping. He stopped again, but not out of hesitation. More like consideration. The memory of Earth surfaced, not sharply, not painfully, but gently, like something placed in his hands to examine rather than return to. The streets, the apartment, the small routines that once defined him, they felt complete, not unfinished. I used to think I needed answers before I made decisions, he said. You made one without answers, she replied. Yeah, he said. And somehow that worked out, terribly, but also not. Her ears tilted, curious. You regret it less. I regret it differently, he said, which I think is progress. A subtle movement spread through the space, like approval without intention. He felt it align with him again, not shaping him but responding. So this is it, he said. I don't go back, I don't stay the same, I just continue. Yes, and whatever this place is, it reacts to that. Yes, he exhaled slowly. All right. She watched him carefully. You have decided. He nodded. I have. He stepped forward, not cautiously, not blindly, but with a strange, steady confidence he didn't recognize as his own until now. The layers shifted immediately, not to challenge him but to meet him. The vastness didn't feel overwhelming anymore. It felt open. I'm not a visitor, he said. No, she agreed. I'm not lost. No. He smiled faintly. I'm just early. Her expression softened, something quieter than approval. Yes. The presence, no, the awareness, around him settled, no longer questioning, no longer testing. It accepted. He glanced at her one last time. You could have told me it would feel like this. You would not have understood, she said. Probably not, he admitted. I barely understand it now. That is enough. He looked forward again, into something that no longer needed to be defined to be real. All right, he said, a hint of his old humor returning. Let's see what I become. And this time, when he moved, the universe didn't adjust to him. It moved with him,